After a 60% bounce from a swing low, Cardano now seeing a bit of resistance. Do the ADA bulls have what it takes to break through? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Thank you for cruising in. Let's jump into the ADA video. This is the 6 hour. We're going to dig into this chart. We're going to back out first, but this is just a quick picture. I mean, you all remember this. This was just the other day, 4 days ago. Markets crashing, Cardano crashing, and boom, 60% bounce. That's what's happened. And I want to kind of dig into where it is right now in that bounce. We started talking about it in recent videos, and that is the inverse head and shoulders. We've gotten the breakout above the neckline. I'm not sure we've talked about it in a video just yet, but I want to dissect this pattern and dissect what ADA is doing right now. I want to zoom out and start on the daily chart because there's a lot of other things going on and playing into what we're seeing here. I don't know if you remember, I'm not going to show a clip. This is a snapshot of the video, but this was the other day, and this was May 10th. This was Cardano at 63 cents, and we were talking about that 50-cent area, and we were looking at this trend line that goes quite far, all the way back to really the last bear market, all the way back here. We were looking at this trend line, and we were talking about the confluence at that trend line. And the confluence at that trend line right around here, around 50 cents, was the trend line itself, but it was also the 50-cent targets that we have out of that huge pattern that we've been tracking all year long. And then I started talking about, I think at a video after that, this trend line, where if we were to include the swing high here of the Shelley hard fork swing high, if we were to try and include that as a trend line, what would that look like? And I was just noticing how interesting this is. Cardano ADA fell right into this entire area that we were talking about, all the way down to this lower trend line, really into the 30s, the 30 plus cent range, right? 30 to 40 cents. And it wicked, and this was the bottom. So from that perspective on this daily chart, awesome to see that Cardano saw some support in that vicinity, but also awesome to see is just the fact that that 50-cent range, remember, we talked about structure forming around that range, and we didn't know if it would bounce exactly at 50 cents and start forming structure, or if it would capitulate below and then start forming structure around it, right? But it's nice to see it starting to play out, and we probably still need a little bit more time on the daily chart to maybe get a more midterm, a bigger pattern in play. But when we start zooming in on the charts, it's nice to see that ADA is starting to form structure almost exactly where we anticipated that it would if Cardano was going to reach these levels, which obviously it has. So stepping outside of that, and stepping outside actually before we dissect ADA price, stepping outside of it all, for context to the video and for markets, I want to take a quick glance here at the S&P 500 index. Crypto is following traditional markets in the general theme and the general sentiment of the world right now, right? So we have to keep an eye on this. If this continues to fall, then likely crypto will continue to fall, and likely ADA continuing to fall as well. And we are in an altcoin here. We're talking about an altcoin, and altcoins tend to be the most volatile. So to the downside, ADA might suffer the most. In my opinion, and this isn't not financial advice, none of it is. In my opinion, though, and this is what I like, when altcoins get so oversold and amidst the fear of it all, and in crashes, they seem to offer the best opportunity and the best upside with, yes, I would say more risk. But I like that, right? And I like that Cardano's a top 10. It's a higher market cap crypto, and that mitigates risk a little for me. But needless to say, this is the crypto markets back in 2018, or this is S&P 500 back in 2018. But this is really when we were crashing into the bear market low. This is what traditional markets were doing. So you can see traditional markets right now again, and this is a weekly chart. This is since January. S&P 500 index down. We know, we truly know that Cardano also down, right, all year long. So let's keep that in mind as we're dissecting ADA charts, right? The structure the patterns, the oscillators, everything has been so helpful. We've made it this far, right? And the roadmap that we have, which is technical analysis on these charts, is extremely helpful in just being ready for the exact environment that we're in right now. And now, hopefully, we all know what we're doing now that we're here. And the Band-Aid has been ripped off. But just keep in mind, things could really get worse if markets don't at least get some type of bounce. I will point out, even in the middle of this downtrend, you can see traditional markets had a little consolidation, but at the end of the day, it got the 20-week moving average cross below the 50-week moving average. We've gotten the 20-week moving average cross below the 50-week moving average. And what I want to say to that is this. If you look at these when these crosses happen, like the 20-week moving average below, when that happens, and we can go back here to when it happened, boom, it really happens when it's kind of like, okay, it happened, and then actually markets start recovering, right? So you can't even really use it as, oh, we got the, it crossed below, this is going to be a multi-month type of thing, which it might, but you can't even really use it like that because oftentimes once it happens, actually markets start recovering, right? So take that with a grain of salt, but it's nice for me to see because it feels like the Band-Aid has been ripped off and we've really been kind of in a downtrend for months now. So ultimately, I think this will eventually recover. It's just a matter of now weathering the storm. So back to ADA, back to the charts. The structure is forming. We're going to keep an eye on traditional markets. We're going to be careful, right? But here's where the pattern is. And right now, we've gotten the breakout above the neckline, and we have a left shoulder ahead, a right shoulder. We've gotten a decreasing volume in this pattern, especially from the head. And what I want to look at is just some data on this pattern. So number one, throwback rate, 65%. This is on the patternsite.com. This is Bolkowski's data. This is based off of 3,197 trades. But 65% throwback rate. And we kind of alluded to this in the last Cardano video, which is you get the breakouts. Sometimes it's not always right away that you're going to the exact target. And actually most often is the case. It is not right away. And I'm sorry, my brother's texting me. Going to this video, I'm not going to show a clip, but this is from 2 days ago. This is me basically talking about the breakout when it happens and how we can get throwbacks, right? And so a throwback, 65% of the time, Bolkowski says, happens. And right now we haven't actually gotten a throwback. We've gotten some consolidation, but there hasn't been this throwback to the actual neckline. So we want to be really careful for this. It's nice to see the breakout or whatever, but especially with these 4 6-hour candles here, we have not gotten an actual throwback. Not definite that it will happen, but be careful for it. We could be visiting the 48 to 50 cent range or 45 cent to 50 cent range rather quickly. And so be mindful of that. And now, in terms of the breakout target for this pattern, we're looking at 80% or 80 cents in that general vicinity. So that could take a while. That could take weeks for it to get there. There could be a lot of volatility, including the throwback itself before continuing. The other thing I wanted to talk about here is this. The volume, highest on the left shoulder or head, diminished on the right shoulder, and the volume trends downward 65% of the time. So we've kind of, obviously, if we're looking at the volume here at the bottom of the screen, we've gotten the decreasing volume, which he says happens 65% of the time. It has happened. And so everything's kind of coming together with a pattern. We have enough data to really track it now. We've gotten a breakout even. But right now, it's kind of like, what direction is Bitcoin going to be going? Traditional markets, what direction are these things going to be going, which will probably likely dictate Cardano. What I like right now is Cardano is in a very bullish, I would say a bullish pattern, bullish setup, meaning if S&P 500 index, traditional markets begin seeing some type of uptrend on the short term, if Bitcoin sees some uptrend on the short term, I think Cardano is very well positioned to have an explosive move to the upside. And just to kind of bring it all together, wrapping things up here, this 20-day moving average, for instance, right around 70 cents, as Cardano sits here around 56 cents. And the reason that's notable to me is just because even in this grueling downtrend, ADA has very consistently, at the very least, tested this 20-day moving average, if not the 50-day, right? And that's really been the main story we've been telling is can it pull into the 20-day moving average and the 50-day in blue? And then can it just start closing candles above? And that just hasn't happened yet. But at the very least, ADA has traded along the 20-day moving average pretty consistently. And when getting overextended, it eventually does pull into it. So the question now in my mind on the daily chart is how quick will it pull in? Will it be a breakout of this inverse head and shoulders where we get a pretty quick move to the 70-cent range and ADA is testing the 20-day moving average? Or are we going to be kind of trickling sideways? Are we going to see Cardano just trickle down back to the neckline slowly? And then when that happens, the 20-day moving average in green will kind of just finally pull into it. Will it be a pulling into type of deal, or will ADA explode to it? Either way, when it happens, that's what we're waiting for. Like that's what we're waiting for. To see if we get any type of bullish hints, bullish confirmations on these ADA charts. And what that looks like is a daily candle close, multiple daily candle closes above the 20-day. And we haven't even talked about the 50-day, the big one, 87 cents right now. So ADA still has a long way to go. But as we climb out of the trenches and we track ADA, all we can do is track it. And all we can do is kind of just stepping stones type of deal, stepping stones type of work. So those are my thoughts on ADA price. I tweeted a little bit ago, I wanted to run this by you. I said, I'm going to start a new series on YouTube, which will document the unique characteristics of Cardano and why it is here to stay. And, I try to interject a lot of what's going on with Cardano and the technical aspect, what they're building, different projects, all of this. I really try to mix that in. I don't want to be just ADA price all the time. And so hopefully that's been helpful, but I want to really start honing in and focusing on what separates Cardano, because it's just there's a lot of outside influence kind of coming in the comments all over the place. A lot of people and a lot of these people are actually unaware what Cardano is actually doing. They're just kind of believing what they're seeing out there, misinformation and things of that sort. So I want to start covering what's going on, the unique characteristics of Cardano, what sets it apart, and why it is a sound blockchain, and why it is secure, why it's scalable, and why it's decentralized, of course. So those are my thoughts. But the reason I'm bringing that up to you is if there's something in particular you want to see me cover in relation to this, the characteristics of Cardano, let me know. Let me know. And maybe that's what I call the series, the characteristics of Cardano. I was just trying to figure that out all day. Maybe that's good. Let me know that too. Hit the like button if you like that. And if you don't like it, just tell me in the comments. Tell me what you think I should name this series. I appreciate all of you cruising by. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.